Welcome to week 3 with our guest Tyler Austin. We are in the sad one, as Johnny likes to call it, the In Your Feels segment, and we have, I think, a very good In Your Feels beer because it's not I still have a chaser from our segment 4, so I'm gonna be needing this. I think we have just bourbon of any sort. It was the prompt. I myself have Bullet. Johnny, what do you got?
I've got Woodford Reserve,
Mm.
or as
And I
they
have
called it in
Elijah Craig.
Oh, Elijah Craig. That's a good
Elijah
one
Craig,
too.
nice. Yes. Oh.
Sorry, Johnny, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
you're good.
No,
You're
no.
good. We had a bourbon whiskey episode with my friend Ryan to kick off season 2 of the show, and we were feeling pretty good, and we were calling it the Woodruff instead of Woodford.
No, I couldn't read.
Is
I
that
think
what it was?
the problem was. Yeah.
But every
Well,
time
and
I look at this, I just think Woodruff.
well, in Woodruff is an alcoholic thing. It's just not whiskey. It's more of like a flavoring kind of deal. But anyway, let's just get right to it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Clink.
Oh, did you just throw it all back, Doss?
Well, what else are you gonna? It's a shot, right?
I thought you sip on it.
I was sipping, but
Oh, well, I'll sip on the next one then.
Yeah,
That's why I was saying you're gonna die with that thing. But anyway.
Oh no, I'm trying to sip on it. I mean, that was a heavy-ish pour. I think I'll be okay.
Sorry, I hang out with shot drinkers too much, apparently.
Service industry be like.
It's true. And I work the AM, so
wow.
I do. I worked 8 to 4 this morning. But anyway, so I got a little more to sip on. How about that?
There you go.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
okay, so,
excellent.
Tyler, what makes this your In Your Feels go to?
Well, truth be told, I'm just more of a bourbon drinker than a beer drinker in the first place. So if I am happy or sad, or there's probably a bourbon for every occasion. But I like that it's kind of like a slow drink, or it can be a slow drink. Nathan has just proved quite the opposite, but
yeah.
like it's very much, I think, to be enjoyed and experienced. So that's what I like about it. But not just the sad one,
Yeah.
Many different emotions are at the bottom of a glass of bourbon.
Yeah.
I think the general feeling is just the warmth of it. Honestly, I've had, I think, more bourbon than different whiskeys. And there's a million whiskeys out there. I feel like there's not that many bourbons because like a bourbon has to be from Kentucky or something, right? And that fact makes it that just like any other alcohol that is specific to a region, those are much more heartfelt products, I guess. Even if they are mass produced, like Bullet is very much mass produced, but it's still got a better feel to it than a lot of the whiskeys that I've like. The first whiskey that always comes up in my mind is Fireball, and that I don't think many people consider that.
I don't even think it's
alcohol.
I don't think it's technically whiskey. Oh well, I think it's the shooters are.
The shooters are not.
The shooters are malt.
Yes.
And if you get like a bottle of it, then it's technically whiskey, but like, not really.
Well, no, the other whiskey I'd immediately go to is Jameson. And
right.
I think the finish of Jameson is cooler in the back of the throat, if that makes sense for me when I've had it.
It's definitely sweeter and it's like a different distilling process than bourbon. And on the same trip where I went to Guinness, I also went to Jameson, to the distillery, which was really amazing. So yeah, I just think that whole process is really kind of cool, how it's very individual.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the barrel makes a huge difference too, right? Like that's one thing I remember from Ryan's episode.
Yeah.
Was about the aging process, and the barrel really makes a difference with the flavor profile and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the amount of times that it goes through the process is different as well. Like I think most American whiskeys are only distilled once, whereas I think Irish whiskey, like Jameson, is distilled twice, and maybe Scotch is distilled 3 times. I can't remember how that exactly works, but
yeah.
Yeah, but it's very much like you can get just as into this one thing as you can get into beer, all of the beers.
For sure.
But you're talking about these very tiny regions of the world with bourbon, which is kind of cool.
Super cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I have a pretty hard time like picking out the different flavors, but with Woodford I definitely get like a little smokiness, and I get a pretty good taste of vanilla. Which is I think it's one of when I moved across the country, I kind of cleared out. So I had collected a whole bunch of bottles of whiskey and bourbon. I don't drink it all that often just because I tend to be more of a beer guy. And I didn't want to lug all the different bottles, so I gave Doss a couple of them. I gave you my huge bottle of Bullet.
Here it is. It's right here.
I got it from Costco. It was a huge thing. It was like 2 liters. It's huge. But I think I gave one back to Ryan. I think I gave you another
We've
one.
made use of it, though. Look at this. It was like here when I think you gave it to me.
Yeah, no, but I'm still, I think 2 years later, I'm still trucking through this Woodford Reserve. But yeah, it still tastes good. Still tastes like nice and vanilla.
So
I was just up in Michigan, and I was staying with my buddy Yuji, who's doing his doctorate in wind conducting there now. And we definitely started that visit with a full bottle of Woodford Reserve double oaked, and we did not end that fairly short visit with that bottle, but I think we solved a lot of the world's problems.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident.
Ryan speaks very highly of the double oak, but that's that bottle comes at a higher price point than the regular, so that's why we went with the regular.
What kind of world problems were you solving?
Oh, all of them. Musical, non-musical. Jeez. I mean, we're both students of Kevin Sedetall, so there are a lot of problems that are created in that arrangement that have to be parsed through. And
I see. Yeah,
it's a complicated multi-year process.
I remember some of yours. It was eventful. I'll just leave it at that.
I love Dr. Sedetall to death.
Well, and you put it very clearly at one point. You said like it's sometimes even better for people to disagree in terms of music than it is for them to agree, because better understandings of music come out of the disagreement.
Yeah, totally. And I think that like any great teacher is going to challenge their student to think about something differently, you know? And hopefully every great student challenges their teacher to reconceptualize things. That's one thing I love with my grad students, that they'll occasionally like bring me something and be like, I honestly had not thought about it that way before. And I think your way's pretty cool. So.
And with that, we have another piece to listen to.
We do.
All right, let's do it.
So we're going to do it. We're going to take a quick break and listen to it. So this is from Caroline Shaw, Plan and Elevation. We're listening to Movement 5, The Beech Tree. So we're going to listen to that and be right back. Okay, so we just listened to The Beech Tree, Movement 5 of, Plan and Elevation, Movement 5, The Beech Tree from Caroline Shaw. That was Really, really cool.
It made me need to listen to the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I'm already on it. So, like...
So Tyler, what makes this in your feels selection?
This is a piece. Well, I've always loved Carolyn Shaw's music ever since I first encountered it. She's actually the youngest composer to ever win the Pulitzer Prize in music. She won it in 2013. And prior to winning the Pulitzer, she actually her degrees are in violin, and she had sort of started having success as a composer, writing for a vocal ensemble, Room Full of Teeth, which does a lot of like new music for voice. And so she had just sort of like started to say like, oh, maybe I should like go to school to be a composer, because she was already doing it. And then I think she won the Pulitzer Prize as a student at Princeton for her doctorate. And so I remember one night, I don't remember why, but I was at the Peabody Institute of Music in Baltimore, and I can't remember if I had finished rehearsal. I used to rehearse with one of my wind quintets at Peabody, and I was sitting on the steps outside waiting for somebody to pick me up. And I was like reading about this and reading about her music. And I remember listening to the piece that she won the Pulitzer with, which is not this piece, but it was called Partita for 8 Voices. And like ever since that moment, which is very crystallized in my mind, her music has been like a huge central tenet of my life. And one of the coolest projects that I've ever done with my professional group, Newfound Chamber Winds, is that my friend Danielle and I reached out to Caroline and got permission to arrange one of her pieces, which is called And the Swallow. It's based on a poem about basically refugees. And we got to do an arrangement of it for my chamber winds group. So like, you know, that was a huge moment for me to like have the opportunity to be the curator of this person's music, who I really respect and think so highly of. But yeah, I just think that you listen to it, and I think that Caroline is like one of those composers, very much like Philip Glass, which is the last piece of music we're going to listen to, but she has found out a way to sort of tap in to something that's very universal about music and what it is to be human. And I just think that all of her music has this sort of sense of like universality to it. And I think when I listen to music like that, whether or not it's Carolyn Shaw or Philip Glass, or there are many other composers. Viet Cong is another composer that I feel like has recently kind of found one of those universal tenets of music. When I listen to their music, I just feel like I'm sort of connected to something, greater than myself. Like I said, I'm not a particularly religious person, but I definitely do feel like that we would be short-sighted to think that there's not something greater than just our human existence. So I just think that her music kind of taps into that for me. And that's why I kind of like, I would say that I use her music and music like it as a place of refuge. So that is where I would go if I was in my feels.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this piece, except it really makes me want to go back out into nature. It makes me want to go on a hike, go camping, and just kind of sit there and experience the natural world and get away from everything that's causing stress and hardship and all of that, and just like reconnect with the earth and the greater than ourselves.
BYOB's camping trip.
Michigan is the perfect place for a camping trip.
Yes. Michigan is the perfect place for a lot of things. Camping is probably top 5 in those things. In regards to this piece, though, like it's so many earthy sounds to it, which I think definitely helps. Just The pizzicato strings just always makes me think of, not always, there's many different characters of pizzicato strings, but this one is, to me, like drops of water, and like just even just little sounds just in the night while you're out in nature, like Johnny's talking about. So cool. So in terms of the human element, I haven't seen the music for this, but my guess is that there were probably like given notes and they were able to play the notes whenever they felt like it, so that it was more randomized. Is that what it is?
I'm actually not sure. I've never seen the score, to be honest, but I would totally agree with you. I think that there's probably some aleatoric element to it, like where the players get to pick.
And that's always, to me, the place where composers are leaps and bounds beyond me in terms of what I would be able to create in terms of written music. How you would even notate that, I have no idea. Like John Cage baffles me when he does some of his stuff. Although I don't love the sound of a lot of his stuff. I do like the sound of this piece.
Totally.
I also like how it morphs from that kind of randomized, very natural, and then it swings into something more traditional, and it hits that swell, and it's really, really warm feeling. I really liked that.
Yeah.
The
2 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it like makes you feel all these things. It's very cool.
Just as another plug, if you really liked this, Caroline also does a lot of collaborating with So Percussion. They're a percussion quartet, and they've released several albums together, and she kind of does like crossover, almost like poppy stuff. She's singing on those albums. She's an amazing singer. So she kind of like goes in so many directions too, but I think all of her music kind of has that universal quality to it, no matter what genre she's choosing to live within.
Yeah, cool. All right, we are out of time for this segment, so let's get to our ratings of the bourbon, and then we'll segue into our last segment. So for me, with the Woodford Reserve, I think I'm going to go with a 4.0. I'm not super well versed in bourbons and whiskeys and the like, but this one for me is a good mix of flavorful and still drinkable. So 4.0 is good for me.
I'm gonna go 3.75. I'll go for a 4 for the shot. It was nice. It was still warm, so yeah.
I drink a lot of Elijah Craig. It's kind of like my go-to standard. It's great by itself. It's great in drinks. So I'd probably go like a 4.0. Yeah.
All right. And with that, we're going to rinse out our glasses, pour our last drinks, and be back at you for the sixth and final segment. Welcome back to BYO Beats Podcast, your beer and music podcast. We are here in segment 6 with our guest, Dr. Tyler Austin. We are on to the Ole Reliable, which the selection was a wheat. In our pre-interview, he mentioned Oberon, as many people who have any association with the state of Michigan do. I have Oberon today because I was able to acquire probably the last 12-pack west of the Mississippi. So I've got it even here in these winter months that we are in now. What do you guys have for in terms of wheats?
I've got an unfiltered wheat by Boulevard.
Ooh, Boulevard has good stuff.
I don't know what unfiltered means, but we're going to find out. I hope it doesn't mean that they're chunks of wheat.
I'm a little bit cheating again, but I have a Belgian triple. So, and it's a pretty weedy Belgian triple.
Cool.
What's the make on that, Tyler?
New Belgium, Fort Collins, Colorado.
New Belgium triple. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good one.
New Belgium makes such good stuff. Doss, when you come out visit, we're gonna have to make a field trip to Fort Collins and head to the tap room.
Yes, please.
Fort Collins is an awesome town. I've only been there once, but yeah, I would live there.
That's surprising. I mean, only surprising because I know a lot of conductors that eventually go to Colorado for whatever reason.
Because it's pretty.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah, that's my favorite thing about living out west is the nature aspect. It's just you cannot beat it. So.
Well, yeah, the first like month that you and Janelle lived there, you guys went on like 20 hikes.
Yeah, we would go like camping or go out hiking every single weekend in the summer. Yeah, it's nice.
Lucky. Anyway,
there's a lot to do in Michigan. You just gotta look for it.
Not that much to see unless you drive to the northern parts of Michigan, though. I'm in southeast Michigan.
That's true.
So
southeast Michigan is probably the worst part for nature. But
we got the highways. We're happy.
You could probably actually, unfortunately, say southeast Michigan is the worst part.
Well, it depends on what you think of Detroit, that's for sure, and just your comfortability with being in a city. But anyway,
it's the most urban for sure. But yeah, we got Wheats. Oberon is so good.
We got Wheats.
Yeah, what can I say about Oberon that I haven't said already? This has got to be
probably
like the 100th appearance on the show.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I mean, this is when I think of a wheat beer, I think of Oberon.
Yep.
But it's not in the same way that I think of Guinness when I think of a stout, and that it's the baseline. I think Oberon is what you want to get to if you're a wheat. Like this is the pinnacle.
Agreed.
I don't know if I've had a better wheat than Oberon.
I think it's safe to say that you can have a baseline that is just that good. I do think that Oberon, in terms of wheat, I don't know. Now that I think of it, Blue Moon's probably your baseline wheat.
Yeah. But I mean, you also get into the argument of is Blue Moon craft or not? But
true.
But I think you can be not craft and be a baseline. Well, I mean, look at Guinness. Guinness isn't considered a craft beer, but it's your baseline stout.
Yeah, if you talk about the extra stout or whatever it's called, that could get into
craft. Yeah,
maybe. But yeah.
So, what makes wheat your Ole Reliable, Tyler?
Highly drinkable, comfortable. You can drink it with a lot of different kinds of food.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just like safe.
Yeah.
Safe and also enjoyable.
Yeah. Because it's like it's not safe in the same way that a Pilsner or a lager is safe, where it's almost flavorless.
Right.
But like a wheat has a very distinct flavor, but it's just something that goes well with a lot of things. So yeah, cool. All right, let's get to the more interesting part, which is the song selection. So we have a piece by Philip Glass. It's called "Opening." So we're gonna listen to that and be right back. Okay, so we just listened to "Opening" by Philip Glass. Tyler, what makes this your Ole Reliable selection?
Philip Glass is definitely like it's a daily driver for me. Like it's on all the time. I put it on in the car. I put it on in my office. Philip Glass is highly divisive. I think there are about half of the human population that would say he's a genius and half of the human population that would say that he's a total hack. I happen to be in the first camp, but I really think that it's for that reason that I talked about with Caroline Shaw's music, where I just feel like he found this one thing that, you know, he goes back to again and again and again, and you can listen to any piece and be like, oh, that's Philip Glass. And you can listen to it for about a second and a half and you can like, oh, that's Philip Glass piece. But it's like that universal quality to it. Like it just deeply, I don't know if everyone feels this way when they listen to it. I guess not, because people think that he's full of crap. But, you know, whenever I listen to it, I just like it deeply resonates with me. And it doesn't matter if it's the first time I'm hearing a certain piece or the 500th time. I just feel like that there's something really like, it's hard to describe in words the sensation that I experience physically when I'm really listening intently to his music. Because it feels like, I feel like it's music that asks a million questions and gives no answers.
I like that a lot. Yeah. So the reason I think I like it is that in general, Philip Glass, it just sounds like the monotony of life a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's become something that I find comforting. It wasn't always. Philip Glass is definitely an acquired taste style composer for me, because when you're really young, like I'm talking like 15 to 21 years old, you're not really looking for this type of music, I don't think. You're looking for something that's going to drive you forward. You're looking for something that is going to excite you in some sort of way.
You're listening to Screamo.
Right. Yes. In this case, you are looking for something that matches you a little bit better, something that matches the simplicity of what you actually have to do in a day, that most humans have to do in a day. Obviously, each of us has the one lucky thing that we get to do that makes us feel really good about ourselves. At least I hope you all do. But this type of music describes the parts of life that are not that exciting. But in that, it makes it difficult to articulate. And that's why it is more on the profound side of music.
Yeah. So
I think that Glass like influenced so many people. Kevin Puts is like a through line of Philip Glass today. And I remember I went and saw his opera, The Hours, kind of by accident actually, but it was with the Philly Orchestra with Yannick Nézet-Séguin conducting. And it was honestly like totally by accident, one of the most amazing artistic things I've ever experienced in my life. And
wait, hold on. How do you do that? How do you see a performance by accident?
So I was on a residency at Marywood University in Pennsylvania with my friend Evan Harger, who was teaching there at the time. And then we just very spur of the moment decided, let's go to Philly for the weekend. And then we very spur of the moment on the way there said, like, let's see what the Philly Orchestra is playing. And it just happened to be the world premiere of The Hours. And we were like, there's no way there are tickets left for this. But we called and there were tickets. And so we just, like, in the span of 2 hours, we were like, we're going to Philly, we're driving, we're halfway there. Oh my gosh, they're playing The Hours. Okay, we're going. And that part, like a large part of this opera is, it's very mundane. It's like about the book The Hours, which deals with different women in different time periods dealing with kind of different kinds of the same problem. And like a big part of the opera is this woman baking a cake. And I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, like, they had been making this cake for like 45 minutes and like not a lot has happened. Like it is what it is. They're baking a cake. And then I think it was like getting up to intermission, and it got to intermission and I looked at Evan and he looked back at me and I was like, Evan, that is the most invested I think I could ever possibly be in baking a cake. And he was like, it was the most amazing, like, way to bake a cake ever. Like, and so like, I totally think that it is music that describes like that kind of mundane, like normalness of just like being alive, you know? But there's like this way that they manage to use very few notes and say so much.
Mm.
Yeah, so with all of that in mind, and also kind of, you've said over the past two pieces about this universality, if that's a word, like that notion. So would you almost consider this to be the quote-unquote pop music of the classical world, or do you think there's more to it than that? Because, and just for some more...
It's a huge question.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
we only have a couple minutes. But when we say pop music, we mean something that's meant to be consumed by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that's a fair assessment, or do you think there's more to it?
Nathan, what do you think?
So that's it's so hard. I think no.
I know, that's why I deflected.
Yeah, right. I think that my initial reaction is no, that it is not the pop music of it, because when I think of pop music of classical style, not classical the era, classical style, I'm thinking romantic era. So the thing that's going to speak the most and have the most to say at face value. This does not have face value anything, really. This forces you that if you're going to understand the music, to get retrospective. It forces you to think about even what you did that day, and think about it. Did that mean something to me? Did it not mean something to me? Is that okay in the end? Also, it would be great meditation music in that same vein. Yeah, I don't think that because pop is meant to is a shortening of popular. I don't see that in Philip Glass. No.
Cool.
Bernstein, Leonard Bernstein, really famous conductor, music philosopher of the 20th century. He basically said all music is either song or dance. And I actually feel like Philip Glass is a very small percentage of music which falls into a different category, which is music that encapsulates time. And it might just be a moment in time, or it might be like the vastness of time. But it is neither song nor dance. You know, it's music without motion. It's just music that exists. You know?
Yeah.
That is spectacularly accurate.
That was a great question, though. Kudos to you.
Hey, I'm a thinker sometimes.
Yeah.
This computer brain can do music a little bit. Yeah, we are going to end it with that. So we are going to wrap up a little bit. So we got to plug our socials. So where can you find us? At BYOBeats_podcast on all of the things. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We are getting better at posting our episodes on YouTube. Thanks, Doss, for being the main factor behind that.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
Of course, you can find us on Spotify. And if you are on YouTube, shout out YouTube gang. You guys are awesome. Make sure you guys are doing the subscribe, the follow, all that stuff. It really helps us get out there. Our link tree is in the Instagram bio for the playlist of all of our songs that we feature in the show. And if you want to get in contact with us for any reason, if you have something you want us to listen to, any suggestions on a beer or an artist, anything, best way is email at byobeats.business@gmail.com or any DMs on the socials. Tyler, if you have anything you'd like to plug, now is your chance.
Oh, interesting. Well, first, thanks to both of you for having me. I can definitely say when you asked me to do this that it made me a little bit uncomfortable, because I definitely do not consider myself a beer person. But I think sometimes it's good to do things that make us uncomfortable. So and this was very much a painless experience. Well, and doing something that I don't know a lot about. So thanks so much for having me. I have a professional chamber music ensemble, Chamberwinds Ensemble, Newfound Chamberwinds. You can visit us at newfoundchamberwinds.com. We're coming out with, I think, 4 recordings in the next year, which I'm really excited about. We have a live album coming out soon. Then we have a flute concerto coming out in mid-February. Then we have our second full ensemble album coming out in June. And then we have an EP with 2 pieces coming out in probably like September or October. And all of these things should have come out at some point in the last 3 years. And they're coming out now. And I'm glad to go check, and get all of those projects done. So soon you're going to have a lot of music to listen to if you'd like to check us out. I'm very proud of them.
Very cool.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Doss, bring us home.
Dude, we didn't even rate the beer yet.
Oh, we gotta rate the beer. Oberon wheat beers. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do our show.
Go ahead.
I blame the bourbon.
Yeah, honestly. Oberon 4.75. I've said it before. I'll say it a million times. Oberon is the best wheat beer. 4.75.
I'm gonna have to go below 3 for this one. I'm not happy.
The unfiltered is.
It's something different. It's kind of watery. It's kind of we're going 2.75. Not that far under 3.
Okay. I'll go. This is like a 3.75. Pretty heavy, pretty sweet. Would drink again. It's tasting excellent right now.
Perfect.
All right.
All right. Tyler, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you had fun.
I absolutely had fun. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thank you. For us here at BYO Beats, this is your boss with the sauce, Nathan Doss, signing off for myself, Tyler Austin, and Johnny Schweegs. And remember, musicians are people too, especially with more beer.